Hello everyone, welcome back. Part 3. Today we have a big talk and quite heavy as well because it's talking too much about the dark side, and I'll be glad when this is over because I want to have a break and talk about all the light stuff. So you gotta keep it balanced. So I'm just doing a little ritual here, cleansing the air. If there's any negativity in the air, you never know. Okay, and Christic intentions are always in line with the Christic teaching, the law of one. And just want to take a moment to take a deep breath. Always makes me nervous talking about this stuff, but I do relatively enjoy doing this because I love when people really see the truth and get to see it from not just the pseudo-scientific point of view, but real science point of view, truth, and nothing but the truth. It's very, very much needed. So I want to start by exploring the word APIN. I know many of you would have heard the word, know how it works, or know what it means, but I want to explain it just for newcomers that have not heard of the word. So it's APIN, and it's an anagram for pain. No, I'm joking. It can be painful. It's most likely is painful because it's not meant for good purposes. So it's a network of crystals used as microchip crystals, programmed with reverse currents and energies and put into like spike-like crystal shards into the mantle of the earth. That's what it means. It's an acronym. So it's capital A, capital P, capital I, capital N, and it's implanted in Earth's mantle, which means that it will affect us biologically too, as what's put into the Earth affects our grids as well, because we're part of the Earth, unlike what they say and what they tell us about, that we're separated. We're just on our own and no connection to cosmos, and we have to look through a microscope and to view the world out there. Space is too far. Nothing is far. It's in fact all a part of our own morphogenetic field, but it's all to do with expanding frequency and consciousness to be able to grasp what these realms are, let alone engage experientially in the things that happen on that level. So we're expanding, we're learning. As we learn even this negative stuff, right? It still does massively open and activate our DNA, because on a personal level and collective level, because we're undoing, by knowing the truth, we're undoing programming, we're undoing mind manipulation, mind control. We've been used as experiments for a long time. They've experimented on us. They've used up all the energy, the prana of Earth, manipulated Earth, trying to suck us into a black hole system. These are not very nice games. And we know that when we really understand the truth, even on that level, which is sometimes unbelievable, it's like science fiction, but it is the truth. And I feel it deeply in my heart. I don't remember being there, but I know it's a deep knowing. That's how you know you're on the right path. It's a deep, deep knowing. No one can really tell you if it's truth or not truth. Only you know. It just feels right within your heart. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to continue with exploring the word APIN. It's mainly a technology, crystal technology, used by mainly the negative factions, the fallen angelics, to claim their territories on Earth. They want to claim not just one territory, but like a whole bunch of grids. And when that dogs do that too, like they get very aggressive and defensive if another dog comes and takes over. It's kind of like that with the fallen angelics. They want to fight and always battle and go on war grids and stuff just because they want more and more, because it's important for them, because more means more energy. As you know, they're not connected to source, so there is no way for them to really, get the connection to source except through what source has created, and they have control over that because they can't control source. So this is how they communicate, this is how they work, and that's not our reality. We don't work like this, so yeah, it's a natural instinct for them to leave their scent like a dog does in specific areas to signal to other animals that this space is taken. And this is kind of what the NAAs do. They claim ownership of Earth's grids in preparation for the final drama, final conflict here. Because, yeah, basically, in a nutshell, they're warring over the grids. That's just something you've got to remember. These you can see through different shapes. The APINs are put in different shapes, like you see falcons, you see birds, you see a dragon, you see a serpent, and they only viewed by certain technology to see them. But there's something counter, like that would, not the antidote to that, but like grids as well that have a positive influence on Earth. It's a positive network. It's running in the right frequencies, and it supports life. It doesn't destroy life. It's called LPINs, and this is run by the Guardians. This is to prevent cataclysm on Earth. So we have LPINs with an L, and that's Lyran Pilon interface, or Lemurian, Pilon interface network. And then we have APINs, it's Atlantean Pilon interface network. The APINs at the moment, they're helping the NAAs to roll out their biblical prophecy of like the world coming to an end, which is, the agenda, the one world order agenda. So we have, the book of Revelation saying that now's the time for Christians to rapture and all that, and attain salvation, infinite or eternal salvation, and things like that. But how are the APINs used? How, like, from a tangible point of view, not just theoretically, but how do they use them? This is what I'm going to cover today. Now, the intent of the NAAs, the negative alien agenda, was to destroy 12D Earth portal, the heart of the great white lion, thus tame the lion. And you hear that word a lot. The lion needs to be tamed. So there's a history to that saying. The lion lies down beside the lamb. The heart is compared to the lamb. And that's to them like a mockery kind of thing, the mockery of the Christian races. The golden eagle grid, they took over that, which belonged to the Christics. They took over that, and it became the white eagle. So you can see symbols of white eagles everywhere, the falcon, the dove. So that, and combining it with the Jehovian grids, that's something that's like a force to be reckoned with. It's a huge force, and it's like very diabolical. Okay, now today the eagle, if you think about where that's represented, the eagle flies with the dove, and they fly together because what they do is they do like they come together, they form a coalition, and then as these negatives do, because that's in their character, they turn on each other and then they start warring with each other. That's how it is. It's not a thing that, I would want to live like, just to be good one day, not good the next day. As Christics, we like the consistency. We like to just feel love and feel good all the time, but they live differently. Okay, they think differently. They don't have that emotional body activated, so they don't feel in terms of like, let's start a war. They don't think like we would. Oh, people will get hurt and it'll be really bad and sad. They don't think like this. They think a war would mean that we could take these grids, and that's good to feed our black hole system. That's all they think. I don't think they call it black hole. I think they like the fact that they can have their own quarantined black hole system. That means God doesn't interfere and they can just go and do whatever they want. No Christics to tell them or to remind them that this is unconscionable, something not very good that's going to make you feel bad, because they're not capable of feeling guilt either. Anyway, so now since September 2000, which, they understand the cycles of time, they understand that there is a fake time and there's a real cosmic clock, which is the cosmic clock, the original timeline. They understand all this, they're not clueless, but they don't have a capacity to feel people's emotions and to respond to those and to be like compassionate or any of that. So they want to fulfill their agenda no matter what. So since 2000, the eagle and the dove have collaborated together. They collaborated with the falcon, the dragon, the serpent. Dragons, sort of, but like the rest, they done a coalition between the phantom, the dove, the serpent, and the falcon. And that's all to roll out the one world order agenda. And it's very important for them because one world order agenda means that they have full dominion. They can control all the operations on Earth, because that's how they see it. They see Earth as a factory and people are here as loosh, like a farm. That's how they see it. I mean, I can imagine it. I don't know. I don't have that kind of way of thinking, but I do. It's sort of, if you think about it rationally, there's no other way like you can explain it. They see it as food, as, the way we see our dinner plate, and that's how they see it, I guess. So yeah, this is what I'll be covering today. So here's a few names that you might like to look into that have these associations. I'll name a few races and then I'll give you the APIN, corresponding APIN that they manage, they control. You've heard in relation to races and bloodlines that control things here, and the affiliations they have and the APINs they control. You've heard of some of these races. So when you see a symbol like a dove, a falcon, eagle, a dragon, serpent, you'll be able to, identify the race name, which is good. Okay. And most of these races broke out of the treaty that happened in 2000 with the Christic races. They promised they will not, they will not mess up anymore, but they didn't. Of course, they left the treaty. They broke the Treaty of Altair in 2000, and then they started the United Intruder Resistance. So they come together, they united for evil. Now, the APIN, Jehovian Nephilite, okay, because I'm reading these, I can never remember what they are. So I made a few notes here. So Jehovian Nephite dove, they're connected with the dove. They're the Jehovian Anunnaki, the bipedal dolphin people. And the associations they have is Jehovian Nephilim Morantian, the Yahweh, the Metatron, the Archangel Michael. So they're the Jehovian Anunnaki that control the dove APIN. It gets complicated because sometimes you have a particular race that's a hybrid race. They're all hybrid races, and they control many different APINs, not just one, Anyway, the second APIN is the dove, falcon, and dragon. And the second grouping, I'm grouping those together because you have races that control 2, some different hybrid races control 3, some just 1. It just varies. But this grouping, the dove, the falcon, the dragon, it's controlled by the Jehovian Nephilim Morantian. And they control Metatron, Yahweh. That's their affiliation, is Metatron. Anything you see Metatronic, the Yahweh, the Archangel Michael as well. So same as the ones before. Now the third category is the dragon and the falcon together, and that's controlled by the Jehovian Nephilim Nephite Draconians. They're the Kabbalah, Hebrew, text distortion, Galactic Federation, all that channeling stuff that's coming from them, from the Falcon Dragon, Ashtar Command, Niburian Councils, Course in Miracles, and Thoth, Isis, Merlin. That's Jehovian, Nephilim, Nephite, Draconians. Mouthful. Now, another one is the Niburian Diotic Crystal Grid, which is NDCG. The net field. I've explained the net field before. I won't go into it now, but basically it's an overlay and it's a false insert of like a reality field that's running on reverse energies there. It's called net, and there's something called hibernation zone, which is also like dead energy. It's just energy is not running in a Christic fashion. It's run in reverse, and it's causing problems, and everything's stagnant there. So it feeds false information, false memories, that sort of thing. So we're exposed to the net field. We are exposed to the hibernation zones, and that's where people channel from. If you're not connected to D12, which surpasses all of the above, all of the ones below it, which is from 1 to 11, 12, 11.5, 11.9, then you have 12. It controls, not controls, but it's super, it overrides all the other frequencies. So when you're running D12, you're running correctly through the whole grid. But when you're just going to the net field, which is between 3 and 4, between 2 and 3 dimensions, that is, between 1 and 2, we have the over and the underlays. And in 3, it's the ego, the false ego, not the true ego. So anyway, I'm going to put this out because I forget it, and then I notice my lungs start to feel like they're not breathing anymore. And I just go, okay. So that's these races control the NDCG, the Niburian Diotic Crystal Grid, the net, the Phoenix, Wormhole, the APIN, Wormhole, and the White Eagle, which they stole from the Christics, was the Golden Eagle. And they're the Palladian, Semjazi, Luciferian, Anunnakis. They also defected from the Palladian-Syrian agreements, and they all joined the United Intruder Resistance. These people have affiliations with, I believe, the mystical schools of like ancient Egypt, the Rosicrucian teachings, which I believe are part of the Masonic teachings. Well, they're close with they all branch from the same place, really, but they're meant to be different. But when I looked into it a long time ago, it's pretty much the same. They Rosicrucian, just another name for the same thing. The Galactic Federation, Ashtar Command, Palladian Niburian Council, the World Management Team. Yes, the One World Order Management Team, the UN. There's Palladian, Semjazi, Luciferian, Anunnakis, the Alpha Omega Melchizedeks, not our Melchizedek cloister. When you see the word cloister, that's Christic. When there's no cloister, means it's Melchizedek himself, who, I won't go into that. But yeah, it's different, okay? Alpha Omega Melchizedek and the false Mother Mary contacts and all that, and these false teachings. Then we have the last one is the Thoth, Enki, Zephilium, Anunnaki. These are Anunnakis and Zetas, and they control the grids, the same grids, NCD and Niburian Crystal Diotic grids, the Battlestar Wormwood, so that's orbits in taking turns with Nibiru. And then we have the net fields and the Serpent. Here comes the Serpent. So that's Thoth, Enki, Zephilium, Anunnaki, and the Phoenix and the Falcon. So they're big, this group. But they're the dominant force of Anunnaki. They're the management team. They're the, Atlantean Emerald, the one that defected. And then you have the Lord Melchizedek, the Christian and Islamic text distortions, Egyptian Osiris mystical schools, and Thoth, of course. So that's the different races. And now Moving on to a lighter note and a much more positive one is LPIN. LPIN is the Lemurian Pilon interface network. This belongs to the Christics, and it goes back to our forefathers, the Lemurian priests. It is a guardian network of crystal grids, of course, run by the Emerald Order Guardians. There's three main ones. We have the Great White Line, which was taken. Talking about the eagle that was taken. But we have the Great White Lion, which is still there, I believe, and the Golden Eagle, which was taken, and then we have the oxin as well. Some of these are no longer in possession of the Guardians. I'm not sure which ones, but I believe the Golden Eagle is not. The White Lion and the oxin, I'm not quite sure, but I'll look into that. Now, the vertical LPIN is a great white lion. Its purpose is to assist Earth holding its shield together, so its shields could repair after the destruction caused by the fallen angelics 5.5 million years ago during the Electric Wars. 5.5 million years ago. And in time for commencement of, as you know, the stellar activation cycle in 2000. The Golden Eagle serves the same purpose. So vertically on the Guardian side, you see the LPIN design of the original Sphinx in Giza, which is a 3D representation of the Great White Lion. That's why it's a lion shape, a lion hand. The Sphinx, it's a commemoration of the Great White Lion. Its primary purpose was to assist Earth in the stellar activation cycle because 5.5 million years ago during the Electric War, the Earth's shield was in poor shape, so that was put there for that reason. And the lion's heart, if you look at it on the map, it has some interesting features. The heart of the lion falls on Stargate 12 in France, the throat 11 in southern England, the head spans Central and Northern Europe and Northeastern America, and the tail extends over Asia, Australia and South Pole, encompassing Southern America. When you look at the diagram and trace them, you can start picking up some understanding. So it's a lot of land. The body covers the Asian continent, and the front paws, I believe Africa, North America. Yeah. The rear left paw is shrouding Africa, and that was held sacred by the Great White Lion. It's a lot of land, so yeah. Now horizontally, there is the Golden Eagle, which was later taken by the NAAs, specifically the Nephilim, and became the White Eagle, created 5.5 million years ago by Seraphi races, which are winged hominid beings. And the White Lion and the Golden Eagle served to hold the grids of Earth during the stellar activation cycle. So yeah, very important role. The Niburian Crystal Temple bases, the NCDs, Crystal Grids, Diotic Crystal Grids, NCDG, or the Crystal Temple bases, there's 24 used as interface links between Earth and Nibiru, installed like 3 million years ago when Nibiru became Emerald Covenant planet. They're places on Earth's map. They're physical places because the Guardians actually have control over these. Their locations are scattered over the globe, but we have the Kauai, Hawaii, England, Iran, Pakistan, Florida, Bermuda, Portugal, Mexico, Peru, Egypt, Africa, Greece, Central Mexico, Eastern Ireland, Rome, South Africa, Tibet, Iraq, and Bosnia. Might have missed a few, but I don't think so. Some Q sites and some are Stargates. So just to give you an idea who controls what, Stargate 4 is Illuminati controlled, whereas Stargate 4 is Egypt, and Stargate 9 is Tibet. It's the Dove APIN controlled by the Jehovian and Anunnakis. So yeah, if you go to Tibet, you can see that. Jerusalem Vortex 2 is linked to the Gruel Point in Florida. That's where they control Earth's planetary shield. The Gruar point is the middle point where they control the whole shield of that celestial body or the body of the earth, or, you know, there's a Gruar point. It's the middle point. So 2 is the between 1 and 3. So you just have to see what's going on and always link it to a stargate. They're always after a stargate, a grid, a portal, APIN. You know, they always want something to do with access out of here, because they feel the void inside, and when you feel void inside, you want to go out and explore outside and you know, and hoard more and more, because it feels so empty inside. And that's what they do. They're not happy with just Earth or, you know, their own land. They want to go, you know, grab from outer space. They want to grab galaxies and planets and the whole cosmos. They want everything. So that's how they operate this type of consciousness. I think I'll just I'll talk about the fallen angelic versions called the APINs, and where they're controlled from and who occupies each one. So they occupy they control the ones in Iran, in Hawaii, in England, in Iran, Pakistan, Bermuda, Peru. So you can see the similarities with the Christic controlled grids as well. But, you know, they have Iran, Hawaii, England, Iran, Pakistan is in Bermuda, Peru. It's sort of the same, like the Christic ones. Portugal too, West Africa, Egypt, Greece, Central Africa, Cyprus, Rome, South Africa, Brazil, Tibet again. So China, Iran, Iraq, Bosnia. So it sounds eerily similar to the Guardian bases, but these are different to the Illuminati bases, okay? Now, these are transmissions, lines, spider grids. It sends where energy and transmissions are sent throughout the whole entire Earth, creating something called checkerboard mutation. So you see the black and white checkerboard everywhere. That means they're controlling the grids. The black and white, I'm sure many of you would have seen this symbology, implies that every white box has a shadow attached to it, meaning the light is trapped within the shadow, the dark. It's to do with the polarity drama, white, black, polar opposites. For every action, there is a reaction, instead of the Christic way of thinking that every action, there's a multiplication and an expansion. So they run on the, you know, every action there's a reaction, because there's always a duality to everything, whereas our understanding and stems from a unity point of view. So there's always expansion, multiplication. It's not a punishing system, not a system. It's like a punishing and control system, not a system of expansion. This is how they operate. This is typical for finite systems, okay? They feed on one another, so they need things to be constantly warring with each other. They create the drama, and then they step in and they take it, just like what's happening now with some grids in the Middle East. The NDC grid is another grid, and it was installed in 500 BC during the Lucifer rebellion controlled from the anti-parallel universe. It was anchored in Stonehenge in England. So the NDC reverses the natural fire letter codes by dispersing it in Earth's grids, creating reversal currents, making a Merkaba spin in opposite direction instead of reaching Stargate 11 where it's meant to go. This is a photosonic program reversing our shields. It's a mutation, okay, in our organic frequency, creating checkerboard mutation in all life, animals, humans, and anything else. This is what dried up our pineal gland and reversed our Kundalini energy, thanks to this technology of the checkerboard mutation and the NDC grids. So moving on, I'm going to talk about Dragon APIN. And Draco grids, they've got their own Omicron draconian or Dedochrone reptilians create their own gridworks, and they call it Dragon, to put reversals in Earth's grids also. They are, from what Ash said, they're the Talibans, they are the Zeta Falcons, and during the Lucifer Rebellion, they took over Stargate 4 to force the artificial link between Earth and the Sun via Stargate 4. So they made a false Merkaba and linked it to Nibiru, and we know Nibiru is the is linked to the Battlestar Wormwood, and they connected our Merkaba, the Merkaba of each of these bodies, to the Sun and create an absolute mess, an artificial rotation, and a constant monitoring system. So when Wormwood and Nibiru take turns rotating to Earth's solar system, they control the whole watch over Earth through Nibiru or Wormwood. So when one goes out of orbit, the other one comes in. So they're always watching over. So, the watchers, or the visitors. That's who they are. And they refused to join the United Intruder Resistance in September 12, 2000, not because they were good, but because they want to hoard it all and they want to fight for the Omicron draconian one world order agenda rather than join hands with the Anunnakis and the others. They also sought to create a pole shift by 2008. The Intruder Races War edict was made in 2000 when they united against the founders, or the founder races, prompted the Guardian Alliance to issue imminent crisis order and setting in motion Emerald Covenant Master Planetary Stewardship Initiative. So some of this information is in the book itself, the Emerald Covenant Master Planetary Stewardship Initiative. So that's when they started running the D12 frequencies and returned the rainbow roundtables. And then they stopped in 2003 because of the infiltration or the threats that were being received. And so the Dragon APIN, the head is in eastern Siberia, the northeast China and Japan. Body extends into Asia, into Middle East, Africa, Russia, and Europe, extends to central USA and South America. And the Draco grid, it doesn't run like the Anunnaki grid in 11.5. It runs 10 reverse. So now it's important to know who's behind the 9/11 timeline, because that's a 9/11 trigger event. So it's considered a trigger event that was going to start a series of other events leading to creation of a massive wormhole and, much successful fulfillment of the agenda, the One World Order agenda. So it's a trigger event. And the site of the event was planned long before 2001 because they set it up in New York, and it was going to receive many pulses, radiation pulses from many different places, and culminate in a massive explosion using infrasound sonic pulse radiation. Infrasound sonic pulses, so ISPs. They worked it all beforehand, leading up to the big event on 8 September. So 9 September was the event. 8 September was when everything was finalized and the execution of the attack took place the next day, 9/11. Bin Laden group worked with the Zetas controlling the Falcon APIN and also the Omicron Dracos. So they all had a hand in these sets of events. It wasn't Bin Laden. It was him, but he is a product of the negative alien agenda, and they all executed that together. United Intruder Resistance. That's the only thing that unite on, is to cause destruction. So they, now you would have heard of the 1/3 of the dragon, the third of the dragon APINs. we think the 1/3 of a dragon APIN is actually healed and belongs to the Christics now, but we're not quite sure. So anyway, that's something we can look into as well. Now, just moving on, for the next one is the dove APIN. And the dove was created by the Jehovian Anunnakis. It runs on D7, 9, and 11 reverse currents. So this is what runs the reversal Kundalini energies. Uses trumpet technologies. These people are fighting with the Zetas for control over the dove APINs. The dove was expanded by Thoth after he broke from the Emerald Covenant in 22,300 something BC during the Iani massacre. When the Ianis were the priest of Lemuria, there was a massacre and they killed all the Ianis then, as you know, and it led to the fall of Atlantis too. So they were annihilated, the whole Iani race, at the hands of Thoth. So there's spoken about the Jehovian seals and the 4 horsemen, and when Enoch defected from the Emerald Covenant as well, they started to think of ways to get back the land and everything. And they defected and they linked the dove APIN with the Phoenix wormhole, creating the 7 anchoring rods, or the 7 Jehovian seals, of the 7 prime HDCs of the dove APIN. So yeah, it's pretty nasty. So what am I going to cover next? Yeah, so all the 7 unnatural Jehovian seals were positioned along the excitonal line 7, the vertical coordinate upon which both Phoenix and Falcon wormholes are located and connect to a secondary set of 7 artificial Jehovian seals placed within the natural seed seals of Earth's 7 primary vortices. So the Phoenix and Falcon together, when activated in 2001, the 9/11 event was actually the cover story for that something else was brewing that we don't see. Now, during the stellar activation cycle, the natural 12 crystal seals in Earth's Templar progressively and sequentially activate with Earth's stargates, allowing excitonal lines in Earth's grids to braid, so Earth enters natural Merkaba under D12 planetary Maharic seal. That was how it's meant to be. The trans-dimensional star crystal seals that exist between the 12-dimensional stargates in Earth's Templar, when the star crystal seals open, they allow specific dimensions of frequencies from stargates above and below to blend, and I explained that yesterday. That's why we have the crystal seals. Okay. Now, the 7 Jehovian seals that hold the 7 angels, the prime HDC implant of the Dove APIN system, which link via subspace sonic frequency band to 7 Pilon selenite rods of Arcturus, were placed in correspondence to 7 of Earth's natural star seals. So the natural star seals were the Christics, and the 7 Pilon selenite rods connected to Arcturus, that was meant to undo this. And that was meant to also, the unnatural Jehovian seals were meant to progressively rip greater wormholes in the cap on the wall in time, because there was a wall put, and I'll cover that today too, a cap put called the wall in time cap. It's an artificial frequency barrier, basically, placed within the planetary shields, scalar templates of Earth, and Phantom. So we're not drawn into the black hole system, or Phantom, during the electrical wars in 5.5 million years ago. That was put by the Emerald Covenant founders, the cap. Okay, so not the fallen ones. So just remember that. Now, in the last stellar activation cycle, 22,003 something BC, the Anunnaki almost succeeded in merging the two in the dimensional blend experiment, it's called, through which the cap in time would have shattered, and our Earth and the halls of Amenti gates that we ascend through would also become trapped in phantom matrix. So we're trapped if that had happened. Okay, so I want to talk about the dimensional blend experiment, and I want to talk about the code that can heal all this, and it's the Mahadra Adrana, which works as a arc buffer zone, and it's the key to the universal arc of the covenant. It's considered the master key code. So I want to talk about this a little bit in a bit, and just give me a minute here. Just to okay, and okay, at 52 minutes. Okay, back to it. The Mahadra Adrana is a buffer zone. It's the key to the universal arc of the covenant, considered the master key code. The Iani founder races stopped the 22,300 something BC stellar activation cycle just in time to prevent this experiment from happening, which in other words means entrapment in the phantom matrix of all life. However, this still poses as a threat right now, but it's at least where Ianis and the founder races are on top of this right now, okay? So we had to come back in 2017 stellar cycle to do this work to prevent this from happening. And this is why the stellar activation cycle didn't go ahead in 2000 BC, because the Ianis stopped to prevent this major catastrophe happening. Now, what ended up happening is the fallen races blew off the cap again on the wall of time, and they created Atlantean flood, eliminating the sacred material, all the guardian teachings, and all traces of true history. And the Guardians then install a frequency fence to recap the wormholes using a staff and a rod Stargate tools, which are the Ark of the Covenant staff and rod. They belong to the Stargates. They belong to the Emerald Guardians, and they activate Stargates and open portals. So this becomes something that everyone wants and fights for, the golden box, because that gives them the key to activating their APINs and wormholes for Templar Dominion. I believe, but it's just my personal view, I'm not sure of the answer, if the Emerald Guardians have either the staff or the rod, and they have one of them. I'm not sure, or whether we have both. I'm not quite sure. I must admit, I knew the answer to this, and now I've forgotten. I don't know if we have both. Anyway, it's said that the golden box is in the tabernacle hidden in the Temple of Jerusalem during the biblical times, but I'm not sure if it's the real one, you know, so I'm not quite sure on this. Now, so the cap in time was put back permanently. Otherwise, the NET and the NDC Niburian Diotic Crystal Grids, the FINI project, and Fallen Angelic APIN technology would just continue to expand, causing more catastrophes and just swallowing up the whole galaxy, basically. So that had to be prevented. The White Eagle was hijacked by the Necromatin Andromi Nephilim hybrids, run on Phantom, called the White Eagle now. That was taken from the Christic races. The Serpent APIN, that's these Samjazi, Luciferian Enki, Zephilium, Enlil, Odedacron, Anunnakis hybrid race. They installed the Serpent APIN. There's a serpent representation everywhere, literally everywhere around the world, in the Caduceus, in temples in India. mainly, but mostly everywhere. In all over Asia, there's symbols. Almost 1,000 years ago, and originally surrounded by moat, the great Kema, king of Angkor Wat, is one of the largest and most elaborately carved archaeological sites on Earth. In Cambodia, originally built as a personal museum, I believe, for one of the kings, was dedicated to Vishnu. It was converted to a Buddhist temple at the end of the 12th century. And the entrance to the main temple gate, there stands a mythical naga, which is a snake, seven-headed serpent, and they say that was a protector of Vishnu. So it was dedicated to Vishnu, but the seven-headed serpent, and you know now what the seven means. The seven is the seven selenite rods, okay, the anchoring rods that belong to the fallen, the FAs. Not the seven-headed serpent, that's what it means, the number 7. And the serpent is the serpent, APIN. So the Guardians installed the blue oxen and the 4 faces of man. 3 faces come into activation. The 4th was shut down in 2003 so that it wasn't taken by the United Intruder Resistance. Okay, let's talk about the blue oxen. Blue oxen is a positive one. Belongs to the Christic races in 5900 BC, which is rather recent. You know, the Centurions attempted to use the hijacked blue oxen for Templar dominion. Okay, the air attacks were prevented and suppressed by the Guardian Alliance, Sirius B, Maharaji, and Pleiadian series. Now, blue oxen, it's interesting because what I found, the blue oxen, I'm going to have a sip before I talk about this. It's quite long. So the oxen is also known as a sacred cow. Where would you go in the world where they not worship, but yeah, maybe worship the cow, as they think the cow is, they believe the cow is a sacred animal. Hindu tradition, okay? Cows are revered as sacred. So according to Hindu scriptures, the cow is considered a divine form of the goddess, fulfills wishes, and protects Krishna, or protected by Krishna. So it's seen as a sacred and benevolent animal, symbolizing prosperity, abundance, and gifts of nature. So if you look back 6,000 years BC in the Indus Valley, which is now India, you'll come to learn that the Vedic scriptures were being dispensated or had their origins in that period, coming into the light by the Maharaji. Maha is great, and Raji is from the word Raj, meaning king. Raj is the king. Maharaji is the great king. Who's the great king? Well, we all know, we know that Yeshua is called, the great king. Solomon also was a king. But the Maharaja of India, who could it be? Could it be Krishna? I know that in 2001, a civilization by the name of the Bronze Age Indus Valley, known as the Harappan, said to have vanished underwater there after the Ice Age. It had many archaeologists determined to find out what happened and how this civilization just suddenly vanished. Now, could it be the indigenous Aryans, with the Aryan race? That's the 3rd race that was seeded here. Because as we know, all life evaporated on Earth following the Great Flood. If it was then, perhaps they brought the Christic teaching to the land of the Indus Valley, which we know shows parallel teachings to the Mahabharata text. So if you study the Vedic scriptures, you'll see there's a striking similarities with the Mahabharata texts. Even they have the Mahabharata, and the word Maha, great. There's a lot of striking similarities. The Mahabharata is also said to have taken place 3100 BC. Some other references give you different dates. The core story of the work is that a dynasty struggle for the throne of Hastapinura, the kingdom ruled by the Kuru clan. The two collateral branches of the family participated in the struggle were the Kauravas and the Pandavas. Now, the Kauravas are the senior branches of the family. The eldest Kaurava is younger than Yudhishthira and the eldest Pandava. Both these clans were fighting to inherit the throne. The struggle took place in Kurukshetra, in which the Pandavas won. They became the victorious clan. The battle produces complex conflicts of kinship and friendship, instances of family loyalty and duty taking precedence over what is right and what is the converse. The Mahabharata tale itself ends with the death of Krishna and subsequent end of his dynasty and the ascent of the Pandava brothers to heaven. That's what the Mahabharata talks about. It's an epic, a huge epic, so long that, and it just sort of goes on about how these two clans sort of fight and what they want and who's the evil, who's the good, and it's very interesting, actually, very nice. In other words, the Mahabharata, it's including the Ramayana, is an extension of the Mahabharata text that came from the Aryans that are seated in the Indus Valley. This is what I believe. Doing the links and trying to find links to where things come from, where everything originated, I found this link. I could be wrong, but that's my analysis here. There's a reference to the serpent deities as well in the Mahabharata, and I'm referring to the meaning of the Sarpastra in Hinduism, denoting serpent sacrifice performed by King Janamayeja, symbolizing significant ritual aimed at appeasing the serpentine deities and addressing ancestral grievances related to serpent lineage. So there's a reference also to cloning and to test tube babies born between 5000 and 6000 BC. So according to Bharatiya, scientist of stem cell research, the Kauravas were products of technology of modern science that yet we have not developed. So they're saying that the Kauravas were actually man-made. And the epic Mahabharata describes Gandhari as a mother of 100 sons who were called the Kauravas. The eldest of them is Duryodhana. Anyway, they're just names. And they're making reference to the woman giving birth to 100 children in her lifetime. 101 children, 100 are men, 1 woman of the same age. And then it goes on to say, how can someone birth 101 all at the same time? And it sort of concludes that these were embryos, human fetuses grown outside of the body of the woman, and so it was test tube babies, and so they had that technology back then. So the war between the Pandas and the Kauravas makes me wonder whether it was a war between Christics and Anunnakis. In other words, good and evil. So like a repeat of Atlantis. We have the Christics who defending the law of one, and we have the FAs, if you want to call them, and they are, creating AI timeline to overtake the organic and the natural timeline. So the epic of the Mahabharata is a reimagined, I guess. Maha means great. Bharat is the name of India, Mahabharata. And it relates to the Kauravas, where they're descendants of a demon named Pulastya, the grandfather of Ravana, from another Indian epic, Ramayana. So there's references to also demonic entities existing within the Kauravas and being descendants of the demons, and also being babies born from test tubes and embryo splitting technologies. So yeah, that's interesting right there. There's a bit of information for you, a bit of research that I've made. And according to the scriptures, the same scriptures, the word lingam, so you've heard of Shiva lingam, the word lingam is made up of Liya and Gamya, which means beginning and end. So it's been described in the scriptures of all Hindu religions that the universe has manifested from Shiva on one day, and everything is found in him and only him. And almost all of us know Shiva resides in Shiva Linga, but do you know that all three deities reside in it too? Because it's Shiva Linga is divided in three parts. The lower part rests at the bottom. The second part and the third is the top worshipped. So the top is worshipped in India. There's a temple for worshipping these three different parts, and I believe it signifies that I meant to say many temples, not just one, but yeah, there's the bottom, the middle, and the end. There's always three deities in being worshipped together, okay, and it's a trimurti, okay, and anything that's considered superior is worshipped. That's how it is. So in India, you find that there's even a temple for the Anunnakis there, because they are waiting for the Anunnakis to return. So they worship these supreme powers. They see them as archetypes of human nature too. So each deity has a special characteristics and an archetype, and they worship that archetype because it represents an aspect of the human psyche as well that's seen in the gods or goddesses. So yes, I guess there's always been a battle between good and bad, but it's interesting to know that the Mahabharata, which is not long in our linear time frame, it's pretty recent. If you look at 5,000, 6,000 BC, you can say it's like ancient, but when you look at the actual age of 5.5 million and 550 billion years ago, when humans were first seeded, like it's pretty recent. That's like yesterday, 5,000, 6,000 BC. So yeah, the Mahabharata, this great epic, I wonder whether it was trying to tell us that the Anunnakis took over the sacred cow, the oxen, and there was a conflict between the two, and one of the clans was seeded from man-made, and it was a product of the demons. It had demonic origins, and we were meant to know this through the Mahabharata, but then it was taken literally, like the cow was then sacred and worshipped, and so there's always a misrepresentation or a misinterpretation of the original texts. And humans, I feel like that mankind hadn't yet developed that ability to be insightful, and because I think they attacked our third eye, indigo shield, and that area of that inner ability was highly compromised. So just have a look into that if you're interested into the Mahabharata and see what you can find there. But pretty interesting. Moving on, I want to talk about wormholes now, but because there's a lot of wormholes, so I'm not going to cover all of them. I'm only going to cover a few. So there's one called Arimathea, and it's considered probably the most ancient wormhole, for like 570 something million years ago. It was created by the Wizardek matrix beings. As you know, the Wizardeks come from the Wisale matrix. So they poked holes in the natural template of the living system's siphoning energy. They used Arimatheus, which is an 11.5 star, dimensional star, and created a wormhole between the moon of Avalon and our D11 Avion moon. So that was the Arimathea. Now the Atlantean Falcon wormhole between 1903 and 1916. So during the World War One, the Zeta of Phantom Earth, or was that just before World War One? I think 1914 was World War One, wasn't it? Just It's just thinking loud, that's all. Anyway, I think it's 1916, after World War One. The Zeta of Phantom Earth began opening the wormhole, the Atlantean Falcon wormhole, for speculating invasion of Earth. The Falcon Atlantean wormhole is on External Line 7, which are where the Jehovian seals are, in our bodies and in the Earth. The militant Zeta Regilians took over the wormhole and took over that and began infiltration of world government on behalf of the Zeta Draconian agenda, overthrowing the Anunnaki's stronghold on the Illuminati covert one world order agenda. So the Zeta Dracos took a hold of the Falcon wormhole. And then what emerged is the Men in Black that was created when they wanted to create intentional reduction of human population. The Men in Black appeared in the 1930s. Matt will put a short clip about the Men in Black at the end of this video, so stay tuned if you want to watch it. Now, the Zeta Regilians strengthened the Hitler Nazi movement with the intention of taking out the Hebrew Draconians. Hebrew are the original Hebrew races, okay? But the Draconians, so Hebrew Draconians, and there's Hebrew Illuminati, but the Hebrew Dracos first were being targeted. But then Hitler betrays the Dracos, the Hebrew Dracos, turns on them, eradicates them in favor of the Necromaton Andromes, who attempt to motivate the Illuminati races to Nagasaki, Japan, and Hawaii, in Kauai in Hawaii, to start building underground bases to hijack the Zeta's APIN and the Japan Nagasaki site. The site fell under the control of the Zetas, the Zeta Regilians, wiping out the Ur magic rail lines as well as the Illuminati races. And the Zetas were behind the Pearl Harbor strike. So it's all about who controls what, because the APINs, you can travel through worlds, you can do so many things. You can do climate change. You can create a climate change hoax if you want. You control the weather, you control everything. So that's why they want their APINs. There's another wormhole called the Budara Laestaki wormhole, or Laestaki wormhole. It's created to link Budara with Falcon wormhole. The Budara, the Laestaki, I can never say this. The Laestaki wormhole. It was formed by a triangulation between Harp and the Q12 Kauai, Hawaii, Trinity Stargate 1 as well in Malibu, California, and the center of control center in Pacific Ocean was between the triangulation as well. So Harp is also part of this triangulation and is also Zeta controlled. The Zetas are behind the Philadelphia experiment, which was in the 40s. And 1943, and it was at the 20-year magnetic peak. So basically is a hole punched in the frequency wall, also known as the wall of time or wall in time. It linked Phantom, which belongs to the Zetas, and Earth, and the goal was to suck that frequency into Phantom from Earth. They tried in 2003, they tried dimensional blending again between Phantom and Earth at the 100-year magnetic peak. Thankfully, that wasn't successful, as the Guardians installed a frequency fence called the 1111 and 1212 frequency fence, which blocked all 4-dimensional frequencies coming from the sun, meaning first to fourth to the astral field. First, an atomical to fourth astral field, except the 12 bass tone, the overtone and the bass tone, it was running out of grids, Earth's grids. This frequency fence prevented the success of their experiment and successive ones. And by the way, we have like antidote symbol codes to these harmful frequency activations. I will explain them at the end of this segment. You'll also find these techniques in the journal as well. So optical pineal and toning the sound frequencies that correspond with each of those symbols. It's very important to recode and to, it's like if there's a frequency fence in Earth, that means we can have a frequency fence too. So yeah, but these symbol codes are the frequency fence. Okay, so the guardians allow 12-dimensional frequencies, blocking the rest. Okay, because we needed 12-dimensional frequencies. That was super urgent. It was a priority. Okay, so to continue activating the stellar cycle. Because remember what I said, if the stellar cycle didn't have the D12 frequency, it would shut and pole reversals would take place. So they couldn't let that happen. So they needed 12-dimensional frequencies anchored on Earth at the time. But they blocked the other frequencies. So now this plan partially worked, but also created a problem to the Christos realignment mission because it interfered with the sun's Merkaba field. And it had to be stopped. The whole thing had to be dismantled in order to fix the sun's Merkaba field. So the Guardians then had to dismantle 1111 1212 frequency, and instead they put in an holographic insert that lasted about 19 years so that we don't become finite and vanished out of here, because there was no, the sun Merkaba was stuffed. And there was no frequency fence, and there was no, it was all a mess. So they had to intervene, and they put in a holographic insert. It's like a space field with another field that ensures protection from harm. So it also acts like a buffer field. So we have this buffer field in and around our morphogenetic field. This allowed to modulate and regulate what frequencies would be coming in. So it's all coming from us. The frequency manifestation of physical matter all comes from sound light fields where we manifest from. Okay, so the way I see it is this holographic insert was like an upgrade, maybe something that had to be temporarily mutated, so we didn't experience the harm from these mixed frequencies. This is all connected with the beginning of the stellar activation cycle in 2000. So they had a deadline. So it was done. They inserted the holographic insert, which I believe it was in 1983 or, wait, check my notes, 73 to 1992. So 19 years. So yeah, it had to be done to catch up to the ultra high frequency bands of D3, dimension 3 frequencies, for the first seal of the Ark of the Covenant to spark and release the sphere of Amenti by October 86. Because as you know, the sphere of Amenti holds a race morphogenetic field of the planet. So this has to come down during a stellar activation cycle. In other words, it was a quick upgrade. This is how I see it. Something temporarily mutated or overridden, not permanently, while the sun's Merkaba field is being repaired or like tuned up, if you want. Okay. By the time 1992 came, we went back to the natural cycles and states. Maybe you felt there was something not quite right during this time. 73 to 92. So I don't know, I wasn't in the 70s, but I remember in the 80s, it was quite, it was like a dream, a fog. And I really didn't start to wake up to myself till 1995. So there was something glitchy, or just, I don't have memories. Even my parents don't have memories. It's like it never happened. So yeah, it's really strange. I have very vague memories. I often say the first 10 years were vague and almost devoid of memories. After 1993, 1994, and well into 95, then it's like the memories start to come back, and it was in a form of like flashbacks. So I remember that quite well. It's like flashbacks, not full-on memories. So this is my experience, but I can't say with like absolute certainty if it had something to do with a holographic insert. Maybe it was just selective memories. I didn't want to remember them. I don't know. But these things occur on the negative side too, like, the blank slate technology. It wipes memories for good, for diabolical reasons, not for our protection. In this case, the Guardian's aim and objective was to protect us from harm and ensure the success of the stellar activation cycle. So I guess that's a way of protecting us, okay? The alternative would have been maybe a successful blending, pole shift, and some catastrophic events that would lead to something like another extermination of life, like what happened during the Ice Age. So yeah, another thing the Zetas did is create the Budara retrovirus, began activating in November 2003. You see, in 2024, you had the Budara wormhole and the Budara retrovirus activation during the electromagnetic peaks of Hitharo and Hethalon. Hitharo is an electric peak. So the reason they activate during these times is because, like, every 20 years, the planet reaches a magnetic and electric peak. Then you have the highest is every 100 years. They know what's occurring and they try to align their events with these cosmic, magnetic, and electric peak. This is to their advantage, so they can siphon more energy, more and more energy. Now, moving on. Just trying to get through this quick. So the Falcon Matrix is another one that we haven't covered. This one's controlled by the Andromes and the Necromatons. It was a wormhole used to raid Atlantis of Earth, creating a hybrid Master Dominion race, Men in Black, and Alpha Omega races. They attempted to merge Phoenix and Falcon to ensure the final victory over Earth squids. So they expand and merge the two wormholes. And the Siren B Maharaji fleets and the Emerald Covenant interfere, squelch their efforts, and the Emerald Covenant are assisting now. Founders cap the Phoenix and the Falcon bridges to Phantom, so there is no bridge to Phantom anymore. And there is a cap now on the wormholes, not just a huge suction cup. So the founders couldn't create a permanent cap. So they activated the 4 faces of man to regain full control of the LPIN. So that's basically that. Now, you talked about briefly the 1111 and 1212 frequency fences. Now with that, there is now, you will feel it too, a bifurcation of timelines already. In case you haven't noticed, there's like a split in timelines. If you tuned into frequencies around you, you may have noticed since 2012, the closing period of the stellar activation cycle in 2017 as well, there's been a huge shift, which we call the cosmic clock reset. So leading up to 2022. The year when the evolutionary path of Earth's population would be set. The 2 different versions of Earth would progress forward in their respective time cycles, and the 3 divisions of Earth's population would embark upon their chosen paths of future evolution. Scalar sonic pulses, what are they? So that was behind the sinking of Atlantis, although Ash says that Atlantis didn't sink, it went into the hibernation zone. But so what happened to Atlantis and the one world government agenda? What is this about and how to move forward from there? Okay. The magnetic fields have a whole lot to do with the function of human consciousness and memory connected to DNA. So fallen angelic battles and the ET intruder races, they, as you know, they heavily messed up our planetary grids. These intruder races created the SSP, scalar sonic pulses technology, to run through our planetary grids with its own distorted artificial magnet poles, destroying race memory. Hence our disconnect from our true history from the ancient history. So yeah, modern education as well has something to do with overriding ancient texts and causing distortions, erasing up to 99% of original capacity, our abilities, capacities, and memories. What we retrieve now is merely just a small fraction of what is left through dream state, through visions, DNA activations. Many of us are beginning to activate DNA now, but we're getting snippets of these visions coming back of other incarnations, like when we were in Atlantis and even prior to that. So that Zeta tech began the subspace sonic pulses, or was originally to detect earthquakes, which was undetectable by us or even our governments. They started using it. So what they do is they give some technology, but in exchange, they want life. They begin by giving something that we would consider valuable, and then they take back a lot more than what they gave. So they manipulated the electromagnetic field of Earth, and it really is anti-life. And due to this technology, population reduction, evasion plans would officially begin. And the modern day spiritual war looks a lot like, frequency wars like 5G, microwave radiation, SSP, chemtrails, and there's a whole list, okay, of why these are very, very inhumane even. Yeah, they're considered bio weapons, okay? They do not want the human race. There's a large magnetic disruption. It affects memory. The negatives carrying out these spiritual wars against the human races, utilizing this sonic pulse radiation weapons since the Atlantean period, their objective is they do not want the human race because we have a D12 potential, but they want our codes so they can access the stargates. That's basically, we know that now. And that's the same reason they're trying to eradicate whales, because the Orifim Cetacean types, they hold a very high frequency. They're pure white skin, light blue whales, specialize in transmitting sound tones that hold certain scalar wave templates for universal structure in order. Otherwise, they don't want to undo the mess they created by giving right tones and frequencies. They want to keep on creating, beaming distorted sound frequencies into Earth. Moving forward, what is the solution to this dilemma of human evolution? And not to focus extensively on like deciphering the common bed of falsehoods and permeating our mass worldviews, but to focus on the common seeds of truth through the falsehoods so that we can overcome them. Okay, because Earth is in a state of crisis while most people are asleep, stuck in their ways, refusing to wake up to what is happening. So we're in a final drama. Now, coming to the last period of the segment, here I want to talk about bio-regeneration techniques and practices that I recommend from the Freedom Teachings. And so I'll begin. The first practice I recommend is linguistic template reprogramming. So using the right language and saying it over and over to reprogram our DNA. And there's one called I Am Free, linguistic template recoding. I am free. So that one is highly recommended. Love, self-compassion is absolutely crucial. Meditation called fetal integration meditation. We're going to try and recreate that one. Emotional body clearing, like if you do, for example, I choose yoga, not in the religious sense. I don't have affiliations with any religious sects or, any of those scriptures or anything, but we do yoga for body health. So, and it's good because it's connected to the chakras as well, the system of the chakras, and there's a lot of striking similarities. So it's good when you know the difference. Then you take what you need and you leave the rest. Things like dancing, back bends, moving the waist, shaking, jumping, turning, these things, they move energy. That's the whole idea of yoga. It's meant to be about moving energy. So that's very, very important. Also things like emotional resolution, things that cleanse and cathartic, like, laughing, crying, because it releases tears. They're cleansing methods. They're freeing your telluric. Telluric is density 1 shield, emotional body system. Another healing strategy is to look at also what you're consuming, not just in terms of food and water, and, but also what you watch and what you listen to and what you say. These get recorded and cause more problems if they're reversed. So in other words, field hygiene, super important. I covered before the symbol, the Mahadrana. It's a symbol code for all, like the master key. So we have the Mahadrana, which is the arc buffer zone. It's a key to the universal arc or the covenant. So that's very important to do optical pineal induction using the Mahadrana. Also, needless to say, the Maharic seal for running D12 Christos Merkaba frequency, and Trion field primal creation currents to override phantom distortions, also very important. Indigo children, I have a message for you. Indigo children, most of you are indigos watching, otherwise you wouldn't be here this time watching 6 hours of talk. It sounds to most people like gibberish, so you are indigos, and just as we are. When I listened to this language, I instantly felt called home and started my mission kicks. Started the first moment. I remember the first word I heard was Margie Grail, and when I heard that, I instantly resonated, and it awakened something within me that was undeniable. And both Matt and I instantly got the books and started with Voyages and started reading, and then it just all came online after that. It's not like we don't have to read it and it just comes online. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it didn't take long. You'd read something and sometimes the rest is implied. You can just fill the blanks. You know this from before. So indigos, we need to come together and we need to build our shields and strengthen our shields. So come to our chat room, because we're creating security, a place that's highly secure, okay, and it has technical support as well, because we don't want to put ourselves out there. We want to create a nice space that's in consecrated space, where I have a lot of protection because I'm constantly running buffers and, always. So when we're together, we're stronger too. So come to that place of unity. Come to the chats, okay? We're stronger when we're united, and that's how we clear distortions and ancient distortions. Together, we build frequency instead of just individually. We support each other. We can build the Trion Mirage field, which is a protective buffer for our collective. When we're together, it's fun, and it helps us to feel less lonely on the journey, does it not? And in case of an emergency, we know where everyone is. We can share updates from all corners of the universe with just one message. So please come, Indigo Connect. If you're not sure, ask the question. And for all J seals removal, if you haven't done that yet, the symbol codes, the pineal induction, it's all available in the techniques section on our YouTube channel under videos. So please continue to do those. And don't forget the Aluria Rashatan code, the feel-good code. And I want to end today's segment with a quote from Speaker One. And the quote is, right now we have to not only get our bodies to where they can go through biologically, but we have to evolve our minds and attitude to where we would not be a threat if we were invited into a Christos society. A Christos society built on love, not shadows, built on love, not egos. So powerful. This powerful quote needs to be read often and often and often, because I think the majority of us, even in Christic societies, are prone to ego wars and pitfalls. So healing the ego implosions, I call them, not impulsions, but implosions, it's an integral part of shadow work and shadow healing. Not killing the ego, not stepping or not ignoring, not denying the ego like they tell you in the New Age, but reigning over the ego, integrating the ego. So it forms a part of your higher identity. So it no longer controls you and no longer controls your mind and therefore your life. So that's something that we can all learn together to overcome. It is for this purpose that the GA, Guardian Alliance, MCEO, and Crystal River Adashi Adepts are returning to the human public a written remote translation of the CDT play teachings and have so long been denied. Through these teachings, humanity is offered the opportunity to come to know and remember itself, and in knowing itself, humanity can find the truth through which it can set itself free during the 2012 appointment with the Illuminati destiny. And it's because of this inherent promise of potential freedom and contemporary MCEO CDT plate remote translations are referred to as the MCEO Freedom Teachings. Okay, well that's it. And stay tuned because we have a few more things coming up. I'd like to end the segment with the invocation of the Mahabharata, the son of Lyra. And so let's do this. I'm going to put the invocation of the Mahabharata up on the screen. So we'll just take a moment. Okay, so invocation of the Mahabharata, the son of Lyra. If it's your first time, you're not sure about the pronunciation, I'm just going to help you with the pronunciation. So I'm going to go slow and then a little faster and then a lot faster and then just leave it with you so you can just practice at home. But here's an invocation. So it starts with Mahabharata cum Bio-regenesis. Then you say your name. In A, so when it's a capital A, it's A. When it's a small a, it's R. So in A, vo kai, on E, blium, or blium, by vectai, Line 3, maha, by vectai, on, ur, a, urnamur. Iste, ontai, isa. Este, onta, isa. Traja, hei, ra. Patate, umma, ashalom, tai, j, inta, do, a. Umsha, dayu, re, akum, tan. And then that last one is repeated 3 times. So a little faster now. Mahabharata cum Bio-regenesis. Name. In evo kai un iblium Bio-regenesis. Maha Bio-regenesis un ure urnamur. Iste unte isatra jahehera. Patate eshelum te jaentadoe. Shadayureya kumtan. Shadayureya kumtan. Shadayureya kumtan. Little faster now. I think that's the normal speed. Mahabharata kumbai vectos. Inevocaium niblium by vectae. Maha by vectae unure urnamur. Iste onte isetra jahera. Patate umma ashailum tai jaintadoe. Shadayureya kumtan. Shadayureya kumtan. Kumtan. Shadayureya kumtan. One more time. Mahabharata kumbai vectos. Inevocaium niblium by vectae. Maha by vectae unure urnamur. Isteonta isetra jahehera. Patate umma eshelum tai jaintadoe. Shadayureya kumtan kumtan. Shadayureya kumtan kumtan. Shadayureya kumtan. This is it. English translation. I, as a D12 Christos avatar self, your name, invoke by divine loving command now, by the power of the universal Christos, D12 divine Christos, blueprint, past, present, future, now, the divine sea of liquid light, this moment, absolutely now, established always and forever, in eternal, abiding, reverent love of the Eternal One. Blessed be, all embracing, giving forth from the still point of eternal peace. Spoken as it is stated, and so it is done, the Aja Entadoe. All embracing pillar of first cause light, I as this expression now. I hope that was helpful. So I leave you now with the love, the light of the one eternal source creator. Thank you for joining me in this journey. Thank you so much. I hope this segment inspired you to ponder deeper into your existence and this material. I hope this information was insightful, was healing and empowering for you. If not, remember that being here, your mission is to be the change, and know when you do stand in your power and you seek growth that you're always supported no matter what. Omni love.